master your takeaway by following this process. Okay, so today's video is around the takeaway, okay? And the takeaway is essentially the first position that we get into on the backswing, known as position 2, okay? Which basically means from here into this halfway back position where the shaft is parallel to the ground. This is the takeaway. And when I teach golfers on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, I see so many faults that stem from the takeaway. So it's amazing how if you get out of sync on that first move on that takeaway, you know, whether you're dragging the club inside or you're pulling it up on the outside, if you get that first part wrong, that takeaway, that can have a huge knock-on effect to the rest of the swing and to your ball flight. So if this applies to you, then take a look at the drills that are going to be coming up towards the end of the video. But I first of all want to explain what we're trying to do and ideally what really the position we want to get to. So from as I'm setting up to the ball, I really want to get a feel for, as I go from the takeaway into this halfway back position, what we find with the top players, that in this halfway back position, the club head is either in line with the hands or slightly outside the hands. Very rarely would you see a top player that pulls it inside, because essentially that's an inconsistent move. Too much can happen on the way back, on the way down to compensate, and there's not going to be any consistency. So from here, right, I want you to take your setup, and there's a couple of ways of doing it. We've got the one-piece takeaway and the two-piece takeaway. Both can be effective. So let me show you the one-piece first, okay? Which essentially, if you look at me from face on here, right, we've got my arms here creating this sort of V shape. We've got the Y shape including the club, and the one-piece takeaway would mean that every move together like so, and there's no conscious cocking of the wrists. It's more controlled by the shoulders, okay? So the shoulders are turning the club away. The hands are very quiet, very passive. We see players like Rory McIlroy in particular have got a really good one-piece takeaway. That keeps really good width as we go back, okay? And again, you can see from this angle that as I turn away, the hands go in, the club head goes out, that club face stays nice and square, okay? And again, the club face in itself is something to speak about, but different club faces can work for different players. But let's more talk about the club face relative to the hands here. So again, I'm just focusing on turning the shoulders away. You'll see my hands working inward into almost my right pocket. I quite often say to a lot of my players, just feel the hands working into a right pocket, and that would be our classic one-piece takeaway. What you'll notice here is that the right arm stays on top of the club, okay? So it doesn't get too far under the club. As soon as we get under the club, that club gets inside. You can see what's happening to that club face, getting a long way open. So that right arm stays on top of the club face. That's going to allow me to set the club on the correct plane as I swing back to the top of the backswing. And we've also got the two-piece takeaway, okay? So that's essentially where the hands are setting the club that little bit earlier, okay? So from here, the hands are going to set the club a little bit sooner, and we're going to get into this position here. So you can see the shoulders haven't quite turned as much, but the key thing is the club head is matching the hands, okay? We wouldn't want a two-piece takeaway if we're just fanning it in here. We have to still do it in the correct manner where that club sets and the club stays in line or outside of the hands. As I said, this can be really effective. You know, we see two types at all times. You know, guys on the tour, someone like Tony Finau, you see Justin Thomas forever, you know, kind of working on this position here. So both can work. So I'm going to challenge you to, if you're having problems with the takeaway, I want you to try both styles, okay? So try the one piece, okay, where the shoulders are controlling it, like so, the club head staying outside of the hands, and then also try the two piece where you might be setting it that little bit sooner. As I say, I teach so many different types of golfers, and both can be very, very effective. Okay, so now I'm going to give you 2 drills, one for the 1-piece and one for the 2-piece takeaway. So for the 1-piece, I quite often use a smart ball. Okay, so there are different types out there, but it can be really effective. And it's one thing Ben Hogan said in his book, The Modern Fundamentals of Golf. He felt like his arms were wrapped together by cord, and so as he was turning away, that the arms were always together. And essentially, by having this ball, we're going to pop it in between the arms like so, in between the forearms, and you're going to practice just turning away, keeping your arms extended, using the shoulders to control it. And from behind here, again, you'll see how effective it is as we turn away. Everything is super connected. Hands, arms, body, club head, working together to get that 1-piece takeaway. It's quite a difficult drill, and I always say to people, start off doing some half shots, but you'll get the feeling for that takeaway. Okay, and my drill for a 2-piece takeaway is the Nick Price drill. Okay, so what he used to do regularly when he was out on tour, obviously got to world #1, he would place his lead arm on the club like so, and he would extend his trail arm, his right arm, and he would just set that club like so. Okay, again, if I set that into that halfway back position, what you'll see is that we don't get any over rotation, which is what a lot of people tend to do. So he will just set that club so it doesn't get too much over rotation. And because we are using just the lead arm, you'll see that it just finds that balance point so much easier. Very difficult to pull it inside with just the one arm, or equally on the outside. Just by having that lead arm there and using one hand, that club just sets there in position. We'll put the trail arm on, and then we're just going to turn to the top and swing through. So I'll show you that once more. Right arm out, set the club, attach, up to the top, and swing through. And just a reminder that if anybody wants a more tailored approach to their game, I use an app called Skillest that you might be familiar with. There's a link in the description box below to get a 25% off discount code on both an individual lesson or the monthly subscription. Thanks as always for watching, guys. If you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe. Post any comments down below. Look forward to seeing you again very soon.